Welcome everyone. If everyone could just put a number 1 in the chat so I can make sure everyone can hear me, see the screen. Greatly appreciate that. All right, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Bill. Timothy, Beth, thank you, Rafael. All right, great. So welcome to another NJThrives Small Business Webinar. These are weekly webinars that we create to help New Jersey small businesses start, grow, and thrive. So I'm your host, Christian Pichardo, NJSBDC Specialty Consultant and CEO at minimalmedia.com. So at the NJSBDC, we're basically a statewide program powered by the SBA and partners to help small businesses in New Jersey with 3 things: no-cost small business consulting, training and events starting at $0, and exclusive small business resources. So as for today's agenda, we're going to go over some headlines. We'll get into the webinar after that. And we encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation, but we will have a short Q&A session at the end as well. So as for small business headlines, now the NJZIP program has been out for a while. So basically this is just a reminder to apply if it's relevant to you. We're going to drop all the links of any news items we have into the chat so that you can get some more information, apply if you're eligible. But basically, for those of you who don't know, basically, this program provides vouchers between $25,000 to $100,000 to purchase new medium-duty zero-emission vehicles, specifically in Camden, Newark, and New Brunswick areas. So if you have a business that could make use of that, or just, works in an industry where you need to use those types of vehicles, absolutely, I would say apply. So that is NJZIP. Next is just some good news, I would say. Phil Murphy and Apple Green announced a $126 million investment into New Jersey. So this is going to be for a new headquarters and new significant job boost for the Garden State. So recently the governor has been doing a great job at pulling in more money into the state, and this not only helps the general economy, but it helps small businesses, jobs, local economy in general. So this is some good news. Other than that, there is not much more. I would recommend, if you want to learn more, say about grants, funding, things of that nature, we're going to go over some of them today as it relates to veteran-owned businesses. But we do have a program at the NJSBDC called the Capital Team. Now, to be eligible, you have to meet certain criteria. So to meet with a Capital Team member and learn about funding and grant opportunities for small businesses, I would visit njsbdc.com/request-counseling to get help. So that being said, those are our headlines. And before we jump into the webinar, there's 2 things to keep in mind. Please type in your questions into the Q&A box. So in the little Zoom window, on the bottom, you're going to see a ton of icons. Around the middle, you're going to see something that says Q&A. Now there you could submit questions as yourself or anonymously. If you put them in the chat and we start having conversations there, then it could get, your question may get lost. So yeah, please use the Q&A. And number 2 is we'd greatly appreciate if you finish a 3-minute survey right after this webinar. And once you complete the survey, you'll get redirected to see the webinar resources, so the slides to the presentation of today's speaker, and also the recording of this webinar. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome Rafael Mata. He is Regional Director at the NJSBDC at Kane University. He's going to show us getting veteran and disabled veteran certifications in New Jersey.
Hey guys, let me just get my camera on. Just giving me a little bit of trouble right now, but good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, better yet. Having some issues turning on the camera here for some reason. Any chance, Christian, you can turn it on your end, or?
Let's see. Okay. Not on my end.
Interesting. I don't know why this is giving me trouble now. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, my apologies, everyone. Apparently, I was already sharing my screen.
Let me go ahead and stop sharing mine.
Okay, that's great.
All right, you're good to go.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Some of you may already know me. I'm Rafael Mata. I was a capital team consultant as of last year, and I am the new regional director for the New Jersey Small Business Development Centers at Kane University. I bring you greetings from the president, the leadership team, the dean of the School of Business. The college is doing a lot in the space of diversity and inclusion, creating a lot of opportunities in the contract space for veteran businesses and underrepresented businesses. And of course, the SBDC network is always here to help businesses as a navigator, as well as identify and pursue a lot of the grants that Christian just shared with us on the update. So I'd like to jump into this presentation. He is off camera now, but we have the president of the Veteran Chamber of Commerce, and we should also have the founder of the Veteran Chamber of Commerce joining us soon, so that you can have opportunities to speak to someone that really knows what it's like to be a veteran pursuing contracts and get the veteran perspective on what it's like to pursue these contracts and what it's like to manage them once you have them, especially as it relates to government. So today we're going to be talking about getting veteran and disabled veteran certifications in New Jersey. We thought that instead of talking about the application itself, that we will focus on the opportunities that you can access. You know, why get the certification? And first off, what is a certification? Because we talk about that a lot, but certifications are basically an action or a process that provides someone or your business an official document attesting to a status level of achievement. In this conversation, what we're going to be talking about and focusing on is being veteran certified or being disabled veteran certified, and the opportunities that you can access with that. Of course, there are individual businesses that qualify for all the categories of certification. Most of the certifications that you'll hear of are the large federal ones, like 8A, and also the New Jersey State one, which is now free, and the process has really been expedited, and the state has done a great job in receiving those applications online and making it very quick. Of course, it's quick for those who are prepared. But when you get certifications, I want to highlight that what you're really looking to access with these certifications is special procurement opportunities. You want to access new business networks, and you want to access special resources and programs that are only open to certified businesses. So it's definitely not a document that we want you to get and just throw in the drawer somewhere. or hang up for your parents in the hallway or something. It does have value, but you need to understand how to access that value and how to go ahead and pursue those opportunities once you get it. A common term that is used with certification is procurement. So I thought it'd be a good idea for us to identify or define what procurement is. And basically, it's an action of obtaining something. Procurement and purchasing are usually terms that are synonymous. In the case of government, and for this workshop, we're usually talking about obtaining goods and services from a business. So you sell something or you provide some sort of a service. It's important to know this term because as you look for opportunities, this is a government term that is used a lot. Larger corporations also have procurement specialists and purchasing agents and things of that sort. So many times we run into veterans that are saying where the opportunities, where these things posted. These words are definitely things that you should have in your reservoir to go ahead and Google these terms so that you can find out where exactly is the entry point for you to bid on these things. With procurement, there's other terms that you're going to be more familiar with. So I thought we would touch on that as well. And I'm going to do my best to get through some of this boring stuff so that you can really have an opportunity to ask me questions as well as our guests and panelists today. But common procurement terms are things like quotes, which many of you may already be familiar with, things like bids. Request for proposal is usually spoken about the most. It also requires the most amount of work, and it probably has the lowest success rate. Not because the opportunities are not there, because many small businesses attempt to secure requests for proposal opportunities before they're really ready and they have those capabilities and capacity internally. RFPs, RFQs, which is requests for qualifications, and RFIs are documents that are lengthy. They require a lot of mandatory documentation that has a lot of legalese in it. And there's a very specific format that these things need to be submitted in. I can tell you that the SBDC at Kane is already speaking with the Dean of the School of Business, as well as some of the other departments to talk about providing more support and information and educational opportunities for businesses who want to get better at these areas, bidding and quoting things and responding to proposals. And of course, is letters of interest. A lot of people don't think of that one, but believe it or not, a letter of interest is sometimes required. It also sometimes creates the opportunity for you. This would be the equivalent of cold calling or sending people some sort of a solicitation via LinkedIn or something like that would be the equivalent of a letter of interest, but that is a formal way to engage things. Another key term that you want to emphasize on as you go on your journey to figure out what is going to be the best way or your strategy to use your recently secured or to be secured certification is the term set-asides. So I also want to take just a few minutes to really emphasize this term. It is a little misleading, but it is an opportunity. The word set aside alludes to the fact that there are funds that are in fact there just waiting for businesses to tap into. That is not necessarily how it works in government. It may work that way in some private sector opportunities, and we'll talk about that a little bit more moving forward. But essentially, the way these set-asides work is they're goals, they're spending goals. And it's an interesting situation because if these set-aside goals are not met, what it eventually leads to is a reduction in the resources that they make available to veteran-owned businesses. Essentially, if people are not prepared and people are not bidding on these opportunities, they go away. So it's not a pot of money that's just sitting there, but it is a portion of funds that are reserved mostly in the form of goals, a percentage goal. The state of New Jersey has a 25% set aside. It also has a 3% set aside for disabled veteran-owned businesses. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Diversity spending goals or supplier diversity is another buzzword that you hear a lot for veterans. You are in that pool. You are in the diversity pool. You are a category that represents diversity in the state of New Jersey. And you see in the parentheses here that we have minority, women, veterans, small, LGBTQ, et cetera. When you talk about set-asides and when you talk about supplier diversity, you're talking about underrepresented businesses. And in the state of New Jersey, the veteran population is very much underrepresented. And then you see the two final bullets there. I won't get into that too much, but for those of you who are interested, when you are doing business with private sector and government, there are terms referred to as tier 1, tier 2. Tier 1 means that you are the direct contractor with that corporation and or government entity. Tier 2 means that you are a subcontractor of that agency that has a direct contract. Tier 1 are usually referred to as primes. Tier 2 are usually referred to as subcontractors. Those of you who have pursued these opportunities in the past are familiar with these terms. So let's talk a little bit about spending in New Jersey, because that's what we're really all here to learn. We are interested in certification, but once you get the certification, what's out there? What do you do? That's what we hear mostly from veterans. And I think that our guests on the panel today will likely echo those sentiments. But just very quickly, things that are already on the books that people are underutilizing right now. This is legislation that's already out there, goals that are already out there. And I believe this administration has been working to restore a statewide set-aside program, which could be monumental for the state of New Jersey and put us in line with the amount of spending that's happening just across the river in New York. So for small business enterprise, which is a certification category, the state of New Jersey has already had a 25% set aside for, I'll say, more than a decade, possibly more than that. Counties have created set asides by ordinance. They can do that. And there are specifically 4 counties right now that have set aside 10% of all goods and services to go to the underrepresented categories. It's 10% of all 4 categories, not 10% just to veterans. It's very important for me to highlight that. And for those of you who are interested, the counties that have these set-aside ordinances in place are Bergen, Hudson, Essex, and Mercer. So if you are in those counties already have initiatives for that. Another great initiative spearheaded by the New Jersey State Veteran Chamber of Commerce is a veteran-friendly initiative. I'll let them speak about that a little later on if anyone has information about that. But they have been working with local municipalities and in some instances, some counties to try to get a larger commitment on spending for small businesses, as well as hiring, as well as a few other veteran perks in those municipalities, such as additional parking for veterans and other preferential items that are specific to veterans. Right now, there is a disabled veteran-owned business 3% set aside that has been on the books since 2015. And the founder of New Jersey State Veteran Chamber of Commerce, Jeff Cantor, did discover this in his career, in his journey here in New Jersey, trying to fight the good fight for veteran inclusion in the state of New Jersey. That has been underspending since 2015, although with his efforts, they've made some headway with that. So I'll leave that for additional questions later on. And of course, corporations through more buzzwords for your Google searches, community engagement and corporate citizenship. So many times businesses come to the SBDC, veteran businesses come to the SBDC and they say, oh, this sounds really great, but I don't know where to go for these opportunities. I don't see them anywhere. They're not publicized anywhere. Using these terms when you're looking for opportunities, you'll find that there are offices, there are web pages dedicated to the terms community engagement and corporate citizenship, where they do set annual goals on doing businesses with veterans. So who contracts with veterans with all these fancy terms and set-asides now that you just learned about? In government, state departments contract, local counties, as you heard, the 4 set-asides, local municipalities, local school districts, and cities. And in parentheses, what I've done is I've identified how many of those departments, counties, municipalities, districts, and cities that there are. It's important to highlight this because especially veterans who are very linear thinkers, especially in their careers, they're looking for engagement or an entry point where kind of all doors lead to all services. So for example, if you wanted to do a business with state government, you would just register on a portal there and you're automatically connected to all the different departments and offices of the state and of the government. That is not something that exists now. I know that is something that the chamber, the New Jersey State Veteran Chamber, is working on. But right now, when you're thinking about a strategy to try to secure contracts with your recently secured certification, you should think about this in the same way you think of the private sector. You must go to the exact door that you want to do business with that accepts your certification, and you need to start building relationships and tracking the opportunities in those departments, counties, municipalities, school districts, or cities. In the private sector, you have corporations, you have educational institutions like Kane University that have procurement protocols, purchasing agents, departments. I can tell you that Kane University's board of directors recently passed some additional guidelines reducing the amount of restrictions or requirements necessary for small businesses to contract with the college. Basically, things like anything $25,000 and under does not need to go to competitive bid and require those larger documents that I talked about earlier. They would be able to be secured as a quote. And I don't know the exact number, but I believe they went from like 3 quotes to 2 quotes, or possibly 3 quotes to an individual quote before that business can go to contract. Many educational institutions are moving in that direction to be more inclusive with the communities that they reside in. Nonprofits are usually not thought of. They are private sector, even though they work a lot from government. Many of them function like businesses. There is a myth out there that nonprofits live off of government grants. That is no longer the truth. It hasn't been for, probably 20 plus years. They function like a for-profit business and meet some sort of a social need, usually. Foundations is depending on your business, health and hospital networks, and obviously specialized groups, associations, and networking groups. From these 2 categories, there are some insights that I want to share about government procurement or doing business with government. And that is that first and foremost, government is highly regulated, meaning there are a lot of laws and a lot of processes put in place to make sure that the purchasing of goods and the issuing of contracts is very transparent. They're governed by purchasing law. So for those of you who are interested in finding out what those regulations are, they are public. They can be searched for on the web, and you would be looking for purchasing law in the state of New Jersey, as well as how purchasing law is interpreted in local areas. You also have other laws that are usually referred to as ordinances on the local level. That is how the set-asides were established for the 4 counties that I mentioned earlier. These procurement opportunities require mandatory documents. You will have to educate yourself on what some of these documents are. Not knowing what they are or not submitting them gets you disqualified. Veterans are very astute at knowing how to follow protocol to the letter. I can't imagine the veterans would really have challenges as far as mandatory documents and process. Cost proposals, there's an upfront cost with that. Many government agencies still use paper, still use CDs, still use zip drives, don't have an electronic form to submit, and usually will put the burden of the cost of putting proposals together on you. Government is embracing technology and electronics, especially post-COVID, but it's not quite there yet. So just know that there is a cost in your time. There may be a cost in you paying a grant writer or proposal writer, and there's a cost in packaging these items. That is a non-refundable cost whenever you do business with government. They follow a set process, and it usually requires that the work be completed before you can submit for payment. It is customary to wait 60 to 90 days for payment. Any state contracts does have legislation to try to expedite this. Local areas get a little tricky, as some are run in a county executive environment. Others are run with a board of county commissioners who actually approve every single payment that's going out of the county over a certain amount. So you have to gauge who exactly you want to do business with and do your research on what their process is. And if that's the type of client that you want, that's the type of client that you want to handle. On the other side of the coin, you have the private sector, which those of you who have a business already thriving or otherwise, you're usually used to private sector deals. And you have likely not used or leveraged your certification to get access to more private sector clients, but it is something that is real. For those of you who think that diversity and inclusion is just a thing that's talked about in government and it's not in the private sector, all you need to see is how Disney has leveraged diversity and inclusion in every single one of their movies, and basically utilizing that to grow revenues. And you have other companies like Nike who also have leveraged diversity and inclusion and highlighting specific sports and sports figures to make sure that the consumer knows that that corporation is very inclusive. So when doing business with private sector procurement, it is virtually unregulated for small to medium-sized businesses, even for corporations. And these corporations and businesses obviously they're able to set their own limits. Sometimes it is a percentage of revenue or a percentage of all the monies that's coming in. More often than not, it is a dollar amount or a goal that they set to spend. There's also no limits on the number of contracts that they provide. So you may find in the private sector that they issue lesser contracts at a higher amount, and then encourage subcontracting, or provide more contracts going out at smaller amounts. I will tell you that the first one is more of what you see in the larger corporations like Verizon or Prudential or any of those companies if you're looking to do work with that. You can secure work with a meeting and a handshake. You can have a drink, you can have dinner, you can speak to a decision maker in a private company and get the work that way. In government, that will never happen because of a lot of purchasing law and a lot of scrutiny on how contracts are given out in government. You will likely never have that opportunity. Please do not personalize purchasing agents or other procurement professionals, avoiding your emails, avoiding direct phone calls, avoiding meetings with potential vendors. It is their role to follow a process in government, and that is the only way that you'll get the larger contracts. You can, in government, however, develop relationships with the individual directors or service providers, so they're aware of what you are providing and can go ahead and request your services if they really are special and extraordinary. They do have a set process, but it's dictated by each company. So there's really not a lot of uniformity. In government, you will find a lot of uniformity. And they provide a lot more flexible payment options. So for those of you who have worked with corporations, that you're familiar with things like retainers, they will wire funds. They are willing to pay portions of money and actually pay in 30-day cycles or less, depending on your contract or situation. That's something that's really something that goes with private sector more than government. So after you've heard all of this information, you may be discouraged, you may be energized, and you may ask yourself, why even pursue veteran-owned business or disabled veteran-owned business certifications? It's more than just getting contracts. You're joining a network of businesses, a family. You're joining the SBDC network. You're being added to additional listservs. When people are looking to do business with veteran businesses, they're looking at these certifications first. It is not good enough to self-certify or self-identify as veteran. The government, as well as the corporations, will have no way of knowing that you are, in fact, a bona fide veteran with a business. There's documentation that's required to do that. And for those of you who are interested in getting certified, you should visit at least the state website or register with the SBDC network to get some assistance on plotting that course. But why get the certifications? You're reducing competition, and there's special procurement opportunities for you. So maybe your business is paint. Those certifications are critical because you may be put into competitive opportunities with a Sherwin-Williams or a Home Depot. You're never going to be able to compete with that pricing as a small business. But with your certification, they've created smaller or lesser pools where only other certified categories or veteran certified categories are competing for those funds. So you're reducing competition, you're increasing your likelihood of being contracted. It also qualifies you for a number of free trainings, many workshops, and I know at Kane, as well as a lot of the other host educational institutions, they are looking to provide more educational resources to the business community. These certifications identify you as an underserved population and therefore gives you access to low cost or free trainings. It gives you access to capital. Maybe you can get a loan on your own already. Maybe your credit score is low after the pandemic. Maybe you don't have a lot of collateral and banks will not likely offer you lines of credit. These certifications open you up to all those opportunities at the state level, at the local level, nonprofits. There's a lot of organizations and a lot of different companies that can provide loans and lines of credit that you will need to grow your business. And I will emphasize, you will need that to grow your business. Bootstrapping your business, which a term coming from veterans, is not advisable and usually does not result in any sort of significant sustained growth. You get access to pre-bid resources. What does that mean? If you're a construction guy, you're going to need insurance. You're going to need bonding. You may not be bondable, which is a type of insurance. And there may be other fees that are required both on the municipal and county levels that these certifications can either help be waived or bypassed, or you can get some sort of assistance in navigating. It connects you with spending in New Jersey in the billions, and New Jersey is spending billions, and now after the pandemic, possibly more. In corporate, they spend millions. In small business to business opportunities, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in county government also thousands of dollars. And as their budgets grow, so do the opportunities to get more contracts. It's very important to say that for those of you who do get certifications or decide to apply for certifications, it really is just a beginning. Just because you get that document doesn't actually mean that it's going to result in a contract. It is a strategy. It's a way for you to diversify your opportunities. It gives you more markets that maybe you didn't even think about, but things you should really think about doing once you get the certification or while you're in the process of doing that is create a business development plan. And that's slightly different from a business plan. It basically, you want to identify the amount of revenue that you would like to make for that year. And then you're identifying your potential customers that you're going to be pursuing and the amount of sales that are required to meet your revenue goals. It is actually a simple document, but a very key document that we can help you with here at this center, as well as the entire network. You want to use your certification to diversify your client pool. So you don't want to go to your existing clients and say, I have a certification. Can I get more funding now with this certification? Instead, the certification is going to open you up to people who accept that certification and who have spending goals that they're looking to meet in the categories of veteran and disabled veteran. You still need to provide a superior product or service. A lot of people get confused about that. It is not a handout. Not that veterans ever want a handout, but you do need to provide a superior product or service. It is a very small community, the certification community, the supplier diversity community. If you do a bad job, the word will get out. So it doesn't matter what your certification status is. Doesn't matter what service you provided to the country, you're still running a business. If it is an inferior product or service, people are going to know. People are not going to do business with you, no matter your certification status. You want to ensure compliance with mandatory documents, be in compliance with the state of New Jersey. The pandemic showed that to a lot of businesses. They needed help. They weren't properly registered, and it was kind of a mess to figure out afterwards. So do your due diligence and make sure that you are fully registered with the state of New Jersey and that your business is organized properly and you have all the required documents. You don't want to miss an opportunity because you didn't have some, very menial paperwork together. I can't emphasize enough, file your taxes. I think every single presentation that we do at the SBDC, no matter what it is that we are helping businesses navigate to, it is important to file your taxes. It's also important for you to have an understanding with your accountant how you want to present your tax information. It's not always about paying lesser taxes, especially if you're looking to borrow money. Remember, to pay lesser taxes, you are showing a loss on paper. That might not fare well with lenders. If you are showing lenders that you're a business that loses money, you are likely not to get loans. I see a lot of businesses, especially in the SBDC network, that look to save taxes, project their numbers or display their numbers at a loss, save those taxes, which there's nothing wrong with that. But then you kind of shoot yourself in the foot because lenders will not really touch you until you start showing some profits. Keep your annual renewals up to date. Every certification, no matter where you get it, the state of New Jersey, the federal government, the SBA needs renewals. And the purpose of the renewals is to make sure that you have not sold off the business or that a larger corporation with deep pockets is not using this advantage, and that's what it is, when they don't need the advantage. That essentially the business is not actually owned and operated by a veteran-owned or disabled veteran-owned business. And don't wait to get certified to pursue contracts. Everything that I've said in today's presentation, you can act on it now. You don't need to be certified to do business with government. You don't need to be certified to do business with the government sector. It provides an advantage. It provides additional clients that you can get direct contact to, but you do not have to sit and wait. You do not have to wait to certify on these portals. I would suggest you come up with that strategy and start reaching out to those folks now. Or some of the people that often are reached out to for certification. And keep in mind, certifications are almost always tied to a line of funding. They are looking for underrepresented businesses to get access to that funding line, okay? So here are some of the organizations that you can reach out to. The state of New Jersey Department of Treasury, that gives you access to a 25% set aside at the state, a 3% disabled veteran-owned business set aside at the state, and 4 counties have a 10% set aside also. Some private sector companies also accept that New Jersey state certification. You have the Port Authority, which has its own projects and its own monies. They have their own certification process. Same for New Jersey Transit, same for the Small Business Administration and federal spending, and obviously same for the United States Department of Veteran Affairs and veteran spending on the federal level. At any given time in the state of New Jersey, you could have anywhere from 25 to 30 different certification organizations and types operating in the state of New Jersey. Please understand that certification, the term certification, is an umbrella term used for many different types of certifications. You need to figure out which ones will result in contracts, which ones you can monetize. Please do not be a certification collector. I know that some consultants, as well as some other organizations, usually say just get everything so that you're prepared. To not frustrate you, I would strongly recommend that you come up with a marketing or expansion strategy and then pursue those certifications first so that your time is rewarded. Some additional things to consider before we open up to our panelists. You want to identify the state, county, and municipal offices that provide resources and services to your business. You also you want to identify who you want to do business with. That's part of your business development strategy. You could do that in one page. It is not a school project by any means. You definitely want to use social media if you're not already using it. Remember that in social media, you're not just posting a story, but you are trying to build a relationship with your customers. You're also trying to issue some sort of call to action. Social media is a tool used to develop trust, consistency, and obviously provide a very easy way to digest your message about what you're selling in goods and services. You want to remember to plan, then act. I always say to avoid paralysis analysis. Don't overplan and then not end up actually doing anything. Attend networking events like this one, both in person and webinar. Follow up with people on here. Look to connect with them. Look to coordinate with them, especially as a veteran-owned business. Look to team up with them. Sometimes there's opportunities where you offer goods and services that company could bundle together, and you guys collectively can go for that contract opportunity. And finally, connect with the SBDC centers for anything that's action-oriented. So if you need consulting as it results to certification, consulting with any of these business development plans, registering with the state, anything like that, please contact us. If you're in the beginning stages and you really, or you're looking for more mentoring on how to be an effective business owner, how to think like a business owner, you would want to connect with SCORE, which is also part of our family. Doesn't matter which one you register through, they will eventually route you to the appropriate place. So with that said, I'd like to welcome Jeff Cantor and Francisco Cortez of the New Jersey State Veteran Chamber of Commerce. And if they could just say a few words about the chamber and a few words about being a veteran, and Mr. Cortez, the first veteran to take advantage of the disabled veteran-owned business set aside. If you could talk a little bit about that and answer some of our attendees' questions. Thank you.
Absolutely, Mata. Always an honor to connect with you and always an honor to partner with the NJSBDC. My name is Francisco Cortez. I serve as president of the New Jersey State Veterans Chamber of Commerce, an organization that I had the honor of creating with Colonel Jeff Cantor, our leader. And I'm also a small business owner. My company is the SetRock Group, and we are service disabled, certified as service disabled veteran owned in the state of New Jersey. but we also hold many certifications. In the essence of time, I'm not going to go through the several certifications that we have, but I can say that our very first contract with the federal government was with the United States Veterans Affairs, and it was because we were certified as a service-disabled veteran-owned business on the federal level. That has helped our business, but I like to joke around and say that certifications are like gym memberships. They don't do you any good unless you walk into the gym and work out, but it is incredibly beneficial. So one of the things that will help is if as many veteran businesses get certified, it will help with the set-aside compliance area. What does that mean? It means that in the state of New Jersey, in order for an agency to uphold the set-aside count for a contract to be awarded, there needs to be 3 marketing agencies or 3 service-disabled companies that are certified for a specific contract. If we don't have, like in marketing, I'm probably one of the few service-disabled veteran companies out there for marketing. So in the state of New Jersey, more than likely, I will not have the ability to get a set-aside because there are not 2 other service-disabled veteran businesses certified in the state for us to comply. I will say I did see Mercer County on the call. They're one of the ones that do it right. They have actually reached out to my company several times and say, Francisco, we have this contract. It's marketing related. We would love to work with veterans. And as of 2 months ago, we were awarded our first contract with Mercer County. So big shout out to Wendy and her team out there. But I'd like to address some questions. If I'm located in Pennsylvania, can I get a contract with New Jersey as an STVOSB? The answer is yes and no. If you're on the private sector, you can reach out to most corporations on a private level, and you don't need to be certified with New Jersey or any corporation privately to get a contract. However, if you are working with state government or local municipalities, they do require you, if you're in Pennsylvania, to have a certification here in New Jersey as an SDVOSB before they can award you a contract. The second question that I see here on the chat box is, please cover a vet business owner with a disability versus a DVOB. Great questions. And that is a veteran business owner. When I first started my company, I was registered as a veteran business owner. I did not have a disability through the eyes of the United States Veterans Affairs. What does that mean? The Veterans Affairs Department goes through procedures and checks, and once they designate that you indeed have a disability, whether it's, I believe it starts at 0%, you can be labeled a disabled veteran business, or 10% or 20, whatever that rating is, but you need that letter from the VA saying you are medically disabled as a veteran, and then you can take that paperwork and present it to the state of New Jersey or any other state for that matter, and that is the difference between disabled veteran business and veteran-owned business. And I'm pretty sure that each state and each governing body has certifications for veteran and disabled veteran. But I'd like to, I see that Jeff Cantor, the Chamber's leader, has his mic off. Jeff, if you want to please take a moment to introduce yourself and any words of wisdom to the group, that'd be great. Maybe he's not on, but happy to take some other questions. We have, at the SETROC group, and on the Chamber's front as well, what we do is state contracting and certifications can be incredibly complex. So I urge people here who are not members of the New Jersey State Veterans Chamber of Commerce to do so. I'll give you a perfect example. On May 10th at Middlesex County College, we are hosting our first inaugural Disabled Veteran and Veteran Business Summit. So all of the veteran businesses that have signed up are going to get a table at no cost to them. And then procurement agencies both on the public and private sector will come to your booth and interact with you, and hopefully you can get a contract with them. That's one of the many things that we do, is we provide you with access to networks that you would normally not have access to. We also assist you with getting procurement ready. I've assisted many veteran business owners with preparing their capability statement. For those not familiar with that term, a capability statement is a resume for your business. How you present yourself initially to a corporation is important. Good afternoon, how can we reach out to your company? I will put out my company's website here for those. And I'm not sure if you're referring to my company privately or the New Jersey State Veterans Chamber of Commerce, but I will put both links on there as well. Membership to the New Jersey Veterans Chamber of Commerce is absolutely free for those, for veterans, student veterans, spouses of veterans as well. So we urge you to join the family. Any other questions, please do put them in the chat box. Happy to answer anything that I can. So right now, our company has grown significantly. To Mata's points, certifications are good and bad. They're good, but you have to know how to market yourself and utilize that certification, both on the public and the private sector as well. State government, I'll give you a perfect example, is very different from federal government contracting. There are several organizations just like this one that kind of offer you counseling on what the differences are between state contracting, federal contracting, how to get market ready, how to prepare yourself before getting capital, right? Certain things you have to put in place before presenting yourself to a bank that allows you to grow. If you look at my website, I have a government landing page that I have that speaks differently to government procurement agencies than I do on the private sector. All things that we help you with at the New Jersey State Veterans Chamber of Commerce. My company is certified in New York City as a minority business enterprise. We are certified in New Jersey as a small business set aside and a service disabled veteran business. We're also certified with the Port Authority as a small business and a service disabled veteran business. In the state of New Jersey as well, we have dual certifications. And we're also certified with the federal government as service disabled and help zones. And I have to say that none of those certifications, except for the VA, of course, has been beneficial, except that it gives us more of a playing field with organizations that do support, like Mercer County, do support veteran businesses. So the road for procurement as a veteran business is not an easy one, but I urge everyone on the call to take the resources that organizations like ours, the NJSBDC, provide to help you navigate those confusing waters when learning about contracting. Mata had an excellent point. Once you get a contracting, you'll be celebrating for about 30 seconds, and then you're like, okay, now I have to service a contract. Being compliant with a state or a federal agency is very different. Invoicing is very different than you would a traditional private sector client. Terminology is incredibly different. I often joke and say that learning government contracting, I've learned a third language, English, Spanish, and now Governese, because the terminology is incredibly complex and different. So all things, again, that we provide is a support system to navigate you through those waters as you learn government and state contracting as well. I do know we have 7 minutes. Mata, I don't know if you want to address anything, if there are any open questions, but happy to be on the call and happy to support all those brave men and women. Also, a note of advice to veterans on the call: LinkedIn offers you a premium membership for free. That is normally a $500 cost to get a premium membership, and that is given to veterans for free. If you do not have a premium membership through LinkedIn, I highly suggest that you go ahead and get one. I'm not going to go into the many benefits of a premium membership, but free is great. But honored to be on the call, and honored to work with the NJSBDC. They've been a trusted partner. Big shout out to Ms. Brosnia, the CEO, who's been a vast supporter of the Veteran Chamber and one of our biggest allies. So we thank you very much. And Mata, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Christian, I'll defer the floor back to you to either take additional questions or facilitate the remainder of the meeting, however you would like.
All right, let's get into it. Thank you, Francisco. Great to meet you as well. Great information. So yeah, let's jump into some questions. I encourage everyone that's still on the call, please drop your questions into the Q&A box. You'll see it. It's a little icon on the bottom of your Zoom window. Let's see. I'll also check into the chat. Let's see. All right, we don't have any questions just yet. All right, question for you, Rafael. What are some important links that people should bookmark?
Well, I would say everybody's logged on because they want to learn about contract opportunities. First thing I would do is I would Google the purchasing agent or the purchasing department for every single county or municipality that they want to do business with. I see that Wendy Sturgeon from Mercer County, thank you, and hello. You posted information about your, is it BidMatch or BidNet? But this is the tool that they use to identify potential contractors and also to get the word out about bids as well as receive them. And I also see one of my colleagues, Joby from Essex County, also talking about his set aside. So if you see some of the comments already, some individuals, some of my colleagues in the fight for diversity here in New Jersey already chiming in, providing phone numbers and emails. But what I would suggest is definitely Google where you want to work, because as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of doors to go to. It's 46 departments at the state, hundreds of municipalities, 21 counties. So we could list them all. I know at the SBDC, we're working to centralize a lot of those resources. So it's one click away on our website. But right now, all of that stuff is available now. Just Google purchasing agent or purchasing department of your government office that you want to work with. Same thing goes for corporations. And you remember the terms I mentioned earlier, which was corporate citizenship and community engagement would be the words that I would use when searching for private sector.
So quick follow-up question on that, because I don't see any other questions here, but maybe this might be a good follow-up. So we know we have to Google purchasing agent, figure out what area we want to work in. What do you recommend in terms of sort of filtering out all these areas, counties, municipalities? You know, how can we focus, or should we focus on one? You know, based on industry, based on businesses' strengths, you know, et cetera.
Well, I always like to have people subscribe to the lowest hanging fruit. That's the direction that I like to go in. So usually people select new clients based on geography. If you provide services and you physically need to go somewhere or physically need to produce something, other businesses that are more digital or on the internet, they can obviously, you know, service the entire state. I would suggest selecting the ones that you prioritize the ones that you would like to do business with, and then research what the minimum requirements are to actually submit a bid or a quote for work. The underlying term that I would tell most businesses that have never been certified before, the direction I would have them go is to try to look for opportunities where they're just asking for a quote. A quote is just either a single piece of paper or maybe 2 to 3 pages that outlines your scope or outlines the cost of your product. In the state of New Jersey, the bid threshold is $40,000. Anything under $40,000 can be awarded by quote. And as I mentioned, Kane University has just reduced that amount further to about $25,000, where you can just engage the director or the decision maker, submit a quote, and that could result in work. It's a lot less paperwork. It requires a lot less effort on your part, and you have 21 counties. So imagine if you got a $40,000 contract in 21 counties. That's not a small amount of money to sneeze at. So my advice is go for lower contracts at a higher volume with the departments or the geographic areas that you want to serve first. That will keep you from getting frustrated. That'll keep you from getting overwhelmed. As Francisco mentioned earlier, it can get very convoluted and confusing, but if you stay focused on the low-lying fruit, you're going to get a lot of traction right in the beginning. Don't go for $1 million contract if you just got your certification. Go for 40, go for 100, go for 150.
There's Mata, I have to jump off soon, but if you want, I can get those two last questions asked by a member, if that's, or unless you want to address it.
No, absolutely. If you can.
The question is, should we get certified for federal before state? It honestly depends on how much energy and where you want to pursue your energy as a company. If you're able to do both, I strongly suggest to do both, as to not limit yourself. However, federal budgets are a lot larger than state. And in my opinion, federal is a lot easier to respond, where some local municipalities and state agencies still require you to actually print your submissions. Some of the submissions are 75, 100 pages. The federal government is all digital. So if you can do both, do both. But I would say start with federal and work your way down to state. But if you can do both, highly suggest that. How do we find out if the product we offer is even wanted or needed by the government? That's where you have to do a SWOT on your business. One thing I did as a small business was I found out who my top clients are for marketing and advertising, which was Health and Human Services, the VA, the Department of Defense, and I marketed myself to those companies. So you got to do some homework on your end. The other question is, how do we find out if, we did that one. I consult on materials and processes and have a laboratory that supports my research. Is it worth certifying with the state? And is there any research that the state issues for materials research? That's more of a state thing, Mata. You can handle it because I have to run.
Yeah.
But it was an honor to be on the call with everyone, and I hope everyone the best of success and luck with contracting. See you.
Mr. Cortez,
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, I'll pick up on that question and basically add to Francisco's comments. It is important, again, to try to establish your business development plan and figure out who you want to target as a potential customer. So it does change based on what you're selling, how much money you have, how much effort you can put out, how big your team is. So there's no one answer about is federal better than state or what. It really is a custom decision. And I would always start in trying to develop your revenue target for the year. How many of those units, be it time or product, that you have to sell per month on the months that you are working. And I very often tell businesses to please be kind to themselves and be realistic when they make these plans. You are not going to work 365 days, 12 months out of the year. You're going to get sick. You're going to need vacation. You're going to have weekends. Be a good boss to yourself if you're your own boss. A lot of people tend to kind of beat themselves up and literally drive yourself all the way to the ground. So maybe you only have 10 active months in the year, and that's where you project your revenue. But once you have the projected revenue that you want to reach and how many of those units you need to sell, you already figured out how much you're going to sell it for. Then you're just looking for, like Francisco said, who are going to be your top clients or who might want to purchase those things. That makes it a lot more digestible and not so overwhelming. If you just start to let the bids that are out there or the request for proposal documents dictate what you want to do, you are often discouraged by the whole process, and it becomes very overwhelming because you're chasing the money. Remember, you started a business, you're a leader in your field, you're an expert in your service or producing your product. So you need to have that very concrete and formalized before you start looking to see what people are purchasing. You want to know what you're selling before people say what they're buying. Otherwise, you kind of get lost in the sauce a little bit. You know, your business might start to try to take on what those opportunities that they're putting out there are, and you find yourself getting lost, you lose focus. So you know what you want to do, you know what you're best at, stick to that and see who's buying that.
Awesome. Well said. Well said. And if anyone needs help figuring that out, you have the NJSBDC. And in a little bit, we'll show you the links, but NJSBDC.com is probably your best resource to get everything that you need really to get a certification. They'll tell you how to get it, what documents you'll need, you know, how to figure out your unique selling points. What are your products, right? So NJSBDC is there. So with that said, next week, we have on Tuesday, Beverly Byerman King is coming back to show us 20 simple mental health tips to feel better right now. So to get access to that and to register, you can go ahead and point your camera phone to the QR code on the right. You don't have to take a picture. You can just point at it. You'll click the link that pops up, and that will be the page where you can register for this event. Also, May 1st to the 7th is Small Business Week, and NJSBDC is celebrating. So we're going to be sending out some information out via email and also on our social media. So just make sure that you're either following us or you're on our newsletter, or stay updated by going to our website, njsbdc.com. So that is the end of our webinar. We're the NJSBDC. We've helped 13,000 plus small businesses grow. We have no cost business consulting, training and events starting at $0, exclusive small business resources. If you want more information, if you're not registered with us yet, remember, it's at no cost. We can help you grow your business. njsbdc.com/request-counseling. Thank you, everyone. And I want to thank again, Rafael, for joining us. And I'll see everyone on Tuesday.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.